Hey there, and welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. If you're looking to get more sales, more customers, master your marketing, and ultimately take control of your retail or e-commerce business, then you're in the right place. I'm Selena Knight, a retail growth strategist and multi-award-winning store owner whose superpower is uncovering exactly what your business requires to move to the next level. I'll provide you with the strategies, the tools, and the insight you need to scale your store. All you need to do is take action. Ready to get started? Well, here we are. We are nearly at the end of January. It's a new year, and a new year brings it an opportunity to grow your business. Am I right? There is something about a fresh new year that brings with it this surge of excitement and renewed hope and positivity. And boy, oh boy, so many of us, just like me, need that right now. I mean, 2023 was rough in this household, but I am not letting it stop me. The thing is, I never went into business thinking that it would be a cakewalk. And the type of people that we are, entrepreneurs and business owners, what we are really drawn to is the challenges. And even though it might not feel like it when your team call in sick, or there are dozens of orders that go out, or 100 emails that need to be answered, and your laptop decides to stop working right when you need it most. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. I'm Selena Knight. I am a retail and e-commerce growth strategist, and thank you so much for your time here today. Now, over the holiday break, the team and I took 2 whole weeks off. And for me, it was probably the first time that it was complete downtime. I did not work. In fact, I hardly even got my laptop out. I went swimming because it's summer here in Australia. I did some painting around the house, and I did some other odd jobs that had been completely left by the wayside because 2023 was really, really busy. I spent time with my family, and really, I just enjoyed having no commitments. And it's funny because we think that we love working, and I'll be honest, I love working. Even on my time off, I was painting the house and doing odd jobs, getting our place ready for sale. But you need to have that downtime, and that time off, that opportunity to recharge, really does make all the difference when it comes to taking a fresh look and a positive perspective to your business. Because taking time off allows our brains to do a reset. And when we can do that, we come back so much clearer on whether that idea that you thought was a really great opportunity, or maybe in hindsight, you didn't need to take it up because you were just grasping at things to try and create change. You know this yourself. If you are stuck, simple things like just going out for a walk and coming back, sometimes the answers just appear. It's like when you are in the shower. How many brilliant ideas come to you in the shower? And it's because we're not thinking about the things. We're giving our brain a chance to have that space to be creative, to get the juices flowing, and to try and sort out the problems without focusing too hard on it. And so if you are anything like me and the majority of business owners, even if you don't call them New Year's resolutions, because let's face it, most New Year's resolutions are thrown out the window by next week, the beginning of February. But if you are looking at making big improvements in your business this year to scale and grow, it can be overwhelming to know where to start. So in this episode, not that we're going back to basics, but I want to give you the answer. If you are struggling to work out what you need to do next, it is actually so ridiculously simple that you will wonder why you haven't been doing this all along. And best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. If you've ever been on one of the calls with my strategy team, or if you're in our programs, you know that this is one of the one questions we ask you over and over and over again. Are you ready for it? Because this is the question you need to ask yourself. What is the one thing What is the one obstacle that if you got it sorted out right now, your business would grow? Let me say that again. What is the one thing? Not 700 things, not 3 things, just one thing. What is the one thing, the one obstacle that if you sorted it out, if it was no longer a problem right now, your business would grow? Now, sometimes the answer is easy. Other times, not so much. When it can feel like everything has just snowballed and you have a to-do list a mile long and your laptop's not working and there are 4,000 emails and someone called in sick, how the heck do you work it out when there could be 2, 5, 10 things that need to be done ASAP? Well, this question popped up in our Facebook group recently. And this retailer quite simply asked, I want to focus on increasing my revenue this year. What would be the best place to start? Now, you might think it's a bit of a silly question, but actually that is one of the best questions ever, because there are dozens of ways that you can increase your revenue. Do you focus on increasing your average order value? Do you try and get more customers or more traffic to your website? Do you try and increase your conversion rate? Do you spend more on marketing? Well, the answer, my friends, is in my 5 pillars of retail success. So if you're new to the podcast, you'll be thinking, what are these 5 pillars? If you've been here before, then I'm so glad that you know about them because you already have a head start. But let me quickly give you like the 30-second recap of the 5 pillars of retail success. There are 5 areas. In my experience, I've worked out there are 5 key areas in your business: money, sales, customers, marketing, and impact. And at any one time, one of those pillars is stopping your business from growing. Just like that original question, what is the one thing that if you sorted it right now, your business would grow? A whole bunch of other problems would disappear. And so that is what we work on. If you just spend 90 days working on freeing those obstacles, now, sometimes you might not need 90 days. Sometimes you might need more than 90 days. But take it from someone who's been doing this for like 15 years, 90 days is a really good amount of time. So if you spend 90 days working on freeing up that obstacle, the results can be exponential. Problems that don't even seem to be related can literally just disappear. So I came up with the 5 pillars of retail success, 7 years ago, like a long time ago. So imagine my surprise when I was listening to a podcast recently and the host was breaking down how he helps $10 million businesses grow into $100 million businesses using the theory of constraints. Now, I had never heard of this theory before, but essentially the theory of constraints focuses on identifying and resolving bottlenecks or constraints within a system to make the performance better, to enhance the overall performance. So, as retail and e-commerce business owners, these constraints could be anything from inventory management to business processes or marketing strategies or leadership or customer acquisition or customer retention or even customer service. And as the host was going through this podcast and explaining it, I realized that this is the exact same theory that I built the 5 pillars of retail success on. And so even though I'd never heard of it, I don't know, maybe subconsciously it was sitting in my brain, maybe I'd randomly overheard something, I don't know. But it was kind of validating to know that something that I came up with all on my own is actually a proven thing. So there you go. The thing that I created has its roots in a scientific theory. So using those 5 pillars of retail success and the theory of constraints, let's break down some problems of the Facebook post about increasing revenue, because let's be honest, for most of you, increasing revenue is probably one of the top things on your to-do list, especially as we come into the new year. So let's just clarify here. You are looking to increase your overall revenue in this example. Not necessarily profit, but what we're talking about is your annual turnover. All right. I'm going to get down and break this down into some math for you. All right. I'm going to make it super, super simple so that it is very easy to understand if you are out walking the dog, if you're driving your car. So yeah, let's get into it. let's say that your average order value is $90. And we're going to work on increasing it to $100. Remember, that was one of the things that we said we could work on. And increasing your average order value is such an easy way to make more money. You've already managed to get the traffic. You've already managed to get the customer. Cracking an extra $10 onto your average order value, that, my friends, is something that you really don't need any money to be doing, to put into place, to implement. So we're going to work on increasing our average order value from $90 to $100. So a $10 increase. Assuming you're turning over, let's say, $90,000 a month. Let's just try and keep it simple, keep the math simple for Sal here, who's trying to do this in her head. $90,000 a month, average order value, $90 gives us 1,000 sales a month. So 1,000 orders with a $10 increase in our average order value is going to be a 10K increase. All right. So remember, we're only thinking about turnover. $10,000 increase per month, not a bad earner. That's $120,000 over the year. That, my friends, is a tidy sum of money for just making some little changes at your checkout or at your point of sale. I'd be happy with an extra $120,000. It's the whole, do you want fries with that? So let's just say, for the sake of easy math, let's assume this is a bricks and mortar store with a 50% conversion rate. So we had 1,000 orders and 50% of those people bought, half of those people bought. That means we have to have 2,000 people come into the store every month. Now, if we can increase the number of people who come into the store by 20%, that is 2,400 people who come in the door. So we've increased the number of people from 2,000 to 2,400 because we've increased it by 20%. Remember, we're not factoring in marketing costs or anything like that. We still have the same conversion rate of 50%, but that is going to give us 1,200 sales in the month. Now, I am going to skip right back to the $90 average order value. We haven't changed anything else. All we have changed is how many people we are bringing in the door. So we have an extra 200 sales at $90 per sale is $108,000. Now, that store, remember, was originally doing $90,000. Now, by bringing in more customers, it's going to turn over $108,000. That's an $18,000 increase in the month, nearly double what we had if we worked on our average order value. So we had an increase from $90,000 to $108,000 for the month. But if you times that by how many months in the year, working on more customers, we end up at $216,000. So remember, when we increased our average order value from $90 to $100, we ended up with what did we have? We had $1,000 a month, $120K a year. But if we work on increasing our customers through the door by 20%, we end up with $216,000. So we have $120,000 for average order value, $216,000 if we increase our customers by 20%. That, my friends, is the theory of constraints in order, in action, kind of in order, but also in action. Do you want to make $108,000 $120,000, or do you want to make $216,000? Because remember, we are only looking at increasing revenue in this example. Sure, there is going to be a cost of, an expense to bring those customers in. But on the flip side, because we have simplified this completely, what we haven't taken into account is the customer lifetime value, meaning that the customer is worth more to us than that initial spend. So we could further add that into equation, but for now, because we're on a podcast and I don't have a whiteboard right here, we're just simplifying things. So by implementing, in this example, a customer acquisition strategy and putting some KPIs in place to increase some goals, to increase your customer traffic or customers through the door by 20%, rather than focusing on your average order value, the increase in your revenue is almost doubled. Remember, we went from $120,000 to $216,000. So that is where the theory of constraints comes in. If you focus on getting the customers rather than average order value, then you're going to make nearly double the amount of money. And let's be honest, a whole bunch of problems can just disappear if you have more people in the door, you have more revenue. You can hire more team members. You could maybe hire the marketing agency if you've been doing it yourself. You can hire an e-com manager. Things that are taking up your day right now, if you have more money, then you can pass those jobs onto someone else. And that is what we're trying to do in business, because if you are scaling your business, you cannot do this on your own. All right, let's consider another scenario, and let's do an e-com store this time around. So something that I see nearly day in, day out is in e-com. Imagine you're a clothing retailer experiencing low sales despite having a fantastic product line. I think every time I go into a business Facebook group, there is someone posting that they have a women's fashion brand and the sales have dropped, even though everybody tells them that their stuff is beautiful. When you hear that, you're like, well, I've got the right product and I've got the customers. I just need to sell more. And so it is easy to think that if you just get more sales, the problems will disappear. Now, what often happens is most e-commerce store owners will then spend more money on marketing and ads to try and increase their sales. When this pays off, more people come to the website, but sales still aren't increasing. So at this point, you get really shirty and you tell your marketing agency, your ads agency, that they're not doing their job, and you go into a Facebook group and you post about how you've been burnt yet again. Sound familiar? Well, I'm going to put my hand up and say, as much as some marketing agencies are crap, maybe it wasn't their fault. Maybe they were doing everything right. Why? Because I've been in this situation. And after digging into the data, we realized for this e-commerce store that their constraint isn't a lack of sales. It was in their inefficient inventory management. They were overstocked on certain items and they were constantly running out of really popular sizes in other products. So the sales were down despite more traffic going to the website because the customers didn't have anything to buy, or they didn't have anything new to buy, or the thing that they wanted was out of stock. So meanwhile, the store can't reorder. They can't top up and buy fresh inventory because their cash is all tied up in the stuff that didn't sell. So the reality is, if sales isn't the issue, which in this case it wasn't, the problem was in inventory management, but that is what you are putting all of your time and energy and money into trying to solve, then all that happens is you end up throwing good money after bad, which of course constrains your cash flow even more. You're going to end up losing customers because they're going to go to the competition where they can buy the thing that they want. And likely you'll probably end up with a really frustrated team who are trying their best, but they can't sell what they don't have, or they can't sell what they don't get. And the same thing happens with your marketing agency. As someone who has owned a marketing agency, I can tell you it is infuriating to be driving traffic to a website only to see the sales not coming up because the pages that people are visiting, they're out of stock. So by referring back to the 5 pillars of retail success, remember, money, sales, customers, marketing, impact, and using that theory of constraints, what we did with this retailer is we dug into the issues to identify the bottleneck, which was not that they needed more traffic to the website. And we took action. Instead of throwing more money at marketing, we implemented a streamlined system that tracked their stock levels, that analyzed demand patterns, and that automated the reordering process. And using our perfect product matrix, they focused on stocking more of those fast-moving products and adjusting their buying strategies for slower-selling products. And so what happened as a result? Well, sales stabilized, and then, of course, they started increasing. They not only optimized their inventory, but they also improved customer satisfaction by consistently having the right products available, reducing their stockouts, and of course, increasing their customer satisfaction because people were happy. They could get what they want from the person or the company that they wanted. So the takeaway from this? Well, The simple question that you need to be asking yourself is, what is the constraint that I'm facing right now? What is the obstacle? And by freeing up that obstacle, what is going to make the biggest impact to my bottom line? Now, sometimes, my friends, in fact, nearly all the time, this comes down to simple math. Like we just did now, the 90,000 to 100,000, the customers in the door from 2,000 to 2,400. A lot of this time, it is just simple math. And so in that case that we just talked about with the e-commerce store, spending more money to drive more customers to the store doesn't fix the problem. Sure, more customers and more traffic is great, but when you are losing customers and losing money rather than increasing your revenue, it's kind of a no-brainer what you should be implementing. All right, I've got one more example for you before we tie this episode up. Let's take the example of a smaller store that is just starting out. They're not doing a lot of marketing. They're just posting on socials because the founder is still doing all of the things in the business. And maybe you can relate to this. Now, this person is smart because they are an avid listener of the podcast, and they have heard me say that increasing your average order value is a simple way to increase your revenue. So that is what they decide to do. But you now know that the real question should be, is my average order value the biggest constraint in my business? And by focusing on getting that number up, is it going to resolve a bottleneck in the business and increase my overall performance? Now, increasing your average order value is not going to move the needle if you only have a handful of sales. What you might need to be focusing on is driving more customers. So let's take a look at how that works out for a small store who only has a handful of sales a day. Let's say that you have 5 sales a day, and each of those sales, the average order value is $50. So we're going to try and increase it $10 yet again, from $50 to $60. So over those 5 sales at $10, you're going to make an extra $50 a day. That's great. But what if you could make double that, focusing on the biggest constraint? By getting just 2 more customers, remember, we said 20%. If we get 2 more customers, then with an average order value of $50, you're going to get an extra $100 a day. So not $50 by trying to upsell, but if you get 2 more customers, then that is going to double the amount of revenue that you bring. Now, obviously, this is simplified, but can you see how at scale these numbers matter? So if you are focusing on the wrong things, or if you're not sure where the biggest constraint is, it's likely that you are stalling your growth, you're spending more money than you need to be, you're annoying the heck out of your customers, and you probably feel very frustrated. So if you do need some help working out a roadmap, working out that math, if you have decided that this year you would like to make sure that your time and energy and resources and money are going where they will make the biggest impact in your business, then reach out and let's have a chat. Let's see if there's any way the team and I can help you do just that. Send me a heads up. Send me a DM, reply to one of my posts, reply to this post on the podcast, or if you head over to selinaknight.com/call, I'll pop a link into the show notes for you, but you can book a call in my team, in the calendar for my team to have a chat with you. Okay, so there you have it. The 5 pillars of success and the theory of constraints really is the key to scaling your business. And if you ask yourself that simple question, what is the one thing that if I got rid of this problem in my business, if I solved the problem or I got rid of it, then my business would grow exponentially and a whole bunch of other problems would simply just disappear. And if you need help with that, reach out to us, send us a DM, selinaknight.com/call, and we'll see if we can help get you started and help you on your way to scaling your business. Alrighty, let's make this a fantastic 2024. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you on the next episode. So that's a wrap. I'd love to hear what insight you've gotten from this episode and how you're going to put it into action. If you're a social kind of person, follow me at @TheSelenaKnight and make sure to leave a comment and let me know. And if this episode made you think a little bit differently, or gave you some inspiration, or perhaps gave you the kick that you needed to take action, then please take a couple of minutes to leave me a review on your platform of choice. Because the more reviews the show gets, the more independent retail and e-commerce stores just like yours that we can help to scale. And when that happens, it's a win for you, a win for your community, and a win for your customers. I'll see you on the next episode.